welcome to this month's Tips at 2, and this is all about rainbows. Part of the reason I'm doing it is that, you know, you can't go far wrong with rainbows, always popular. Now I've used GTX. So GTX is a fairly new brand, only a couple of years going. It is one of the Chinese brands, if you like. However, it's more glycerin based than some of the others, so it's much softer. And Amber Massa has specifically designed it so that it's very easy to make cakes, your own split cakes. So I'll show you in a second. Well, here's one I made anyway. So that's one I made yesterday. Here we are. This is the GTX cake. I also made this one as a one-stroke, which I mainly use for sponging actually. But let me just show you into my GTX box. So we've got quite a few colours here. I haven't got them all. Amber very kindly sent me some of these, and I've also got the samples, little samples. You can get those. But I've got the crafting knife in here. I've got the stamps. I've got one of the cakes. I'm just working on boards today. Haven't got a model. But on the fan club, we work mainly on real people. So that's the other good thing about it. Okay, so this was just an example of one I did a bit earlier on, and just thought I'd show you a couple of little examples. I'll do this again so you can see how it's done, but as I say, that's what I used it for. That just shows how you can spread it over the whole face if you want to. Now, personally, I like using my big sponges. And I get these from, well, in the UK it's very easy to find. We get them from Tesco's and other places like that, big supermarkets, and they're called baby sponges. So they're pretty big. But that's why I love them, because you can fit a whole cake on there. Or you can just put a certain number of colours. You can fill this side and this side, so you can cover the whole face, rather than using little ones like these, where you've only got that much space or that much space. And I know you've got that, but it's much narrower. So anyway, that's personal preference. I know some people like petal sponges. I really don't get on with them at all. I don't think you can get enough paint on that end. You know, they only just about fit, so you only get a tiny bit there. So no, I don't get on with them really. So let me show you how we do this. I'm just going to wash this off. Most people have seen me do this. The quick way of washing off is just to get the board really, really wet, so it's swimming with water, and then just get one of my wipes. And you can just do a quick swipe down and down again. It's dry and clean. Okay, so we're going to spray this curved edge of the sponge. Now my board is wet, so I'm just going to dry that off again. There we go. And then I can fill, placing it on, and I'm not squeezing it, I'm just allowing it to rub backwards and forwards until it starts getting maybe a bit sticky. But it's loaded up. Now you'll notice it's missed off a little bit of the blue. So sometimes when I'm cutting them, actually, sometimes I put a bit more in the end here. I didn't on this one, but if I just put a little drop of blue there and get this sponge, I can literally just sort of fill up with blue on that end if I want. Okay. So now let's show you a bit of a classic, how I'd put this on a face. So we've got light to dark, and that's the other thing about rainbows. It's a personal preference of mine. I don't like having a dark blue at this end. I prefer to have it dark at one end and light at the other. Same goes with this. It's a light blue. It could have been, I could have gone for a light lilac or something, and the darker red is at that end. So I love having a very dark at one end and a light at the other. And the reason is that when we're doing butterflies on a face, for instance, I like to keep the lighter colours in the centre of the face. So this light blue will go near the centre of the eye and the darker colour will head up here. So the blue is making that kind of line, and then I just roll the sponge back, take the blue up there, and I've got the dark colour at the corner here which I can take up if I want. Yeah, and then I can just pinch a bit, so I just get these colours, for instance, on the cheek area. Just a tiny amount. You don't have to take it all the way into the corner. So that's one way of doing it. I'll let that dry, and then what I'll do, well, no, I'll put it on the other side. So again, you can just take the blue up there, roll that back. So you've got the darker colour on the outer edge, which always looks a bit better anyway. Again, I'll just do that little circle there. So there we go. So I've done that. Well, that can dry, and I'll do the line work on it a bit. And in the meantime, I'll get another board. Okay, let me show you this one. Now, you can either use a big sponge, my normal Tesco ones, or you can use one of the sort of standard face painting sponges that are also sold. So I use both, depending on what I get my hands on first. But the same goes. I use the dark at one end and the light at the other, and I load it this way, okay, not like that, and you'll see why in a second. I don't usually spray my cake. Sometimes I do, but the risk is if you spray the cake that it might pool in the middle. You'll also notice that, again, it's something that I always do, is I cut out the end channel here and each end, because when you're loading it means you don't end up with the pool that way, at least. But anyway, I'm going to sponge with this, so I'm going to spray this little sponge. Okay, so I've just sprayed it there, just give it a bit of a rub in, and then I want the dark end here and the lighter blue there. So I put the light colour right into the blue there, and then just gently hold it, don't squeeze, but gently hold it and go backwards and forwards until it's not too wet. Always make sure it's not too wet, so you have to keep going. And there we have a rainbow. And it means that you can go up that side at that angle and also change it and do up that side. So let me just show you. Right, so take that blue up there, and you can get a really nice, and by rolling it back, you get the colour up there. And you can just, you learn to manipulate the sponge, and you've got a butterfly wing, swing it round there, and it's super quick, very quick way of doing a butterfly. And then you can choose to either put that all the way at the outside, or sometimes I just pull that little bit up, and I've got a bit of red here and a bit there. And don't worry too much about the shape that you've made, because you can correct all that with your brushwork. Okay, so you can see they're all random shape, but it really doesn't matter. That will be corrected. Okay, now I think my other one is pretty much dry. So I have many ways of doing butterflies, never the same. And be aware that when I started, there were no one strokes. I would have loaded my sponge with different colours. And actually during this month in the fan club, I'm going to be showing people how to create a rainbow, but not necessarily as a one stroke, but just how to use all the colours of the rainbow on a sponge in a different way. I don't know about you, but these days so many painters are just falling back on always using one strokes, which is fine, and they're lovely and they're fast, and I appreciate all that. But if you can learn all the other methods as well, then you can vary it so much more. So yeah, I like to use just a number 6. This is one of my own. This is the Desert Island number 6, which got a fantastic point. But anyway, I'll show you one with a 1-stroke just because they're so popular. Now, as there's less purple on there, I'm going to edge it with purple, but you can use any colour really. Now, this is where you can see it comes into its own because I've left a channel. When the brush starts down here and goes there, if there's any excess water, it runs into the channel. You see, I've left a huge channel. You also don't waste so much paint. There we go. So that's loaded up. And we'll just do this edge one here. Okay, so let's start on the toe. And I try and make a really nice curve shape. And as I say, if your base wasn't perfect, don't worry. And then I like to vary the sort of shapes I do. I like a sort of random in and out, zigzagging backwards and forwards, just to vary it. And then back on the tip, and you can make your lines. Come into always to the focal point, like that. Again, on the lower wing, let's take a tip there. And see, I'm not worrying too much about what shape was, that I'd made with the sponge, because the line work will take over. Make sure all your lines are pointing towards the focal point. Now let me just show you a weeny little trick. Early days of 1-strokes, there was a lovely lady, Nuret Pilchin, who took some of the earliest classes, and she did this fantastic thing. So you can see I've started with the dark on the outside there, and then what you can do, just flip your brush, and you can make a different shape. So sometimes I make a kind of circle there. So I've almost made a little, what's it called? Little eye, if you like. Yeah, so you can do that. Or another fun thing to do. Do I compact the paint? No, I cut it out. I use a slicer or a knife or something. And just chop. Well, I don't, when I'm cutting it, I only cut as much as you actually need, because this is actually a GTX one as well. But if I get a brand new one that I bought from somewhere else, actually that's a GTX as well, but anyway, yeah, so like that one, I would literally just get my palette knife and cut out each end. It just stops it. Well, as I say, it's wasted, all that paint. Anyway, back to where I was. I was going to show you another little trick. Let's fill up with a bit more dark on this tip. Right, so just here I can make a sort of half circle. And again, once you've got the hang of your brush, it's pretty quick. So you're going to pivot from a point about there. Let's put my brush down. And you can just kind of swing it round like that. And again, it makes another kind of eye. Or you can make shapes wherever you like, as long as they kind of follow the rule of following the flow lines. There we go, something like that. And then you can add another colour into those, maybe some gold or something like that. Yes, holding the brush, it's all a matter of learning to twizzle it in your fingers. And also butterflies, always try and make that point there the furthest out point. So not having it up here, but having it way out there. So I've taken this line out a bit far, but normally I try and get them angled in more like that. Okay, so that's that side. Now, while that dries, I'm going to get my the Juliet Eve collection. This is the Desert Island brush, and this has got the super point. And on that side again, I'm just going to get some purple. In this case, I've actually got a DFX metallic purple. It's probably one of my favourite all-time colours. It's really highly pigmented, it's metallic, but it's fantastic for line work. It's a bit too strong for bases. But anyway, so loading up, remember, nice and liquid, so you can keep that fantastic point that it has, even when I roll it all the way around. And let's hope my arm isn't in the way here. Let's have a go. So I'll do it like that. And there's some swirls. A few more there. And then you can just add a few little lines that might flick inwards. Something like that. We'll do the same on the lower wing. Something like that. Just a quick butterfly. And this is the sort of thing I do on the job all the time. And then I might do my lines, some sort of antenna. I make them a bit kind of stylized. I don't do strict antenna, but I like to use some of my sort of signature line work that I do quite a lot. For instance, swan strokes. So I just take a line like that and then add a teardrop on the end. Or I do one of my opera strokes, and I tend to do quite a few on one side and then maybe just a few on the other. But again, this brush has such a fantastic tip, you don't even need a liner. I only use my liner if I want to do lots and lots of little long lines. Right, so let's just take a little teardrop from there, and then I might add some, could use my dot comma, and what's time there, let's get a bit of white. Oh, actually I'm going to get my gold. Sorry, this is Kryolan Interference Bronze. That's right. One of my favourite golds. Takes a bit of getting used to, but oh my goodness, it is the best thing. So if you're doing butterflies, I always recommend putting some gold in. So I'll put a bit here, maybe a bit there, and in the middle of that. And then I could maybe just do some little comma strokes, because this brush is called a dot comma because it's best for commas, which are these strokes. So it's a bit wonky. Got my camera in the way, it's always difficult. Comma stroke is thick to thin, because this hasn't got such a good point, and that's the idea, because it's good for dots. And I could do dots with it, with the gold. There's some coming down here from the eye. It makes beautiful round dots. So that's the dot comma. I think we need a little bit on here, maybe. Just some little highlights, perhaps, in gold. So that's done with that. That was the base using the GTX split cake with a sponge. Okay, now the other one, where's it gone? Oh yeah, it's over here. I could do let's do something different, shall we? Let's take this is the blossom, and it works quite well. Well, it works beautifully for making petals, obviously. I'm just going to get a couple of colours. what do we got? Some yellow. So when you're going to do double dipping or triple dipping, which is something I go through in the course, you've got to prepare all the colours in advance. So the white, this is going to be the brush I'm going to be using. So let's just keep that one over there. In the meantime, I'll just work up some colours just with another brush. Get my red prepared. Anyway, I just thought I'd show a different way of doing a butterfly because everyone's doing one stroke all the time. And I love a bit of variety. And then we'll get the yellow prepared as well. And there we go. So this is my blossom brush, as I call it, which is basically a petal brush. And it's a flat. Fatter here obviously comes to a lovely point, and it's great for doing petals. So having filled my white, I always very gently, not too much, but just wipe until you've got a lovely point. Then I'll dip in my yellow. Try not to find the wettest part. Try and find a kind of more like a sticky part of your paint when you're double dipping. There. And then also, so I've got my yellow on there now. I'm going to triple dip and just put a tiny tip in the red. There we go. All right, let's have a go at doing these. Slightly different way of doing a butterfly. So I can take it, let's go from the corner of the eye. This is always the focal point, sort of either central, or if I'm doing butterflies, my focals tend to be in the corner of the eye. And we'll take this line, a very thin line, and then just press up there. I'll take another one to there, and then just add some more different places. If I'm missing a bit of the other colours, let's just get a bit more yellow, a bit more red. There we are. I'll take that long. And you can go on either side of the brush, either to make it thin or make it fat. And then maybe I'll do a little twirl like that. There we go, and those can be antenna. I mean, and that's how quick that butterfly could be. You could edge it a bit more if you wanted, but you know what? That's fine. That's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16 strokes. And as I say, you saw me lay it down with a sponge, so that's how quick that is. On the other side, let's do another type of butterfly. Let's get this is my Desert Island number 4, another super pointy brush. That's definitely missing purple, so I'm going to go for some purple if I want to continue the rainbow. But, I tell you what, let's do it with white. There we go. We do white. You will learn when I'm teaching that I tend to, I do a lot of making things up as I go along. So let's try something different. We will take this like that. Give that a point up there. As you can see, I'm only really concentrating on butterflies today, but I do so many other things with these. I mean, that would do, it's just slightly different butterfly wing. I could make that a bit more pointy as well. I could take that down like that. And there we are. Any other questions, by the way? Whoops. Okay. Now, I was wondering what else we could do. I know. I'll just do one very quick princessy style thing. I'll just use this again, I think. I'll do a bit of both. Right, let me use my big split cake. Get another sponge. Load that one up. There we go. And this is what I might do if I was doing, I don't know, princess or unicorn or whatever. Let's do a princess, shall we? So again, I like the light colour. Lower down. Right, that didn't pick up very well on there. So we're just going to load a bit more of that purple. You have to be careful if you have to go back and line it up. Let's give it a bit of a swing round. And there we are. And I'm going to put the purple at the outer edge of the eyebrows. And I can maybe roll some of the colour in as well. There we go. And just play around and twist it. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of pink. Whoops, it's not pink. That's pink. A few drops there. Again, I'll use the flat here, so I've got the same sponge. And this is one of my favourite pinks. Nobody else makes it quite like it. It's a grimace. And it's very, very, very pale. You probably can't even see it. But anyway, I just like it for making cheeks there. How about I show you just a princess using some line work. I know that's a bit dry, so I might speed up the process. Just do that. I know it'll pick up most of the paint, but never mind. Speed it up. Let's have a bit of I know what, why don't I use my dagger brush, because a lot of people struggle with daggers. Again, on the fan club I teach how to use this as well. So always load it on the flat, never, you know, on its edge. So plenty of liquid there, very gentle wipe. When you wipe, don't wipe too much, don't bend the bristles, otherwise you empty out the reservoir. And I could do with this, I think it was Karen Hewen that said cut and spread, and it's a lovely expression. Am I centered? Yes. So you can literally go cut and then spread and back in. Yeah, and I've done this without using one stroke, but I can use it one stroke as well. There we go, let's take that down there. And then we'll do a couple more. So when you're doing crowns, it's a good idea to give yourself a shape a bit like a triangle. So at the moment that is the highest point. So if you're going to do a line here, don't take it too high, keep it sort of in line. It's a lovely leaf shapes almost. And then you can, with this, you can make really super long, thin lines. And I'm splitting it so it almost makes eyelashes. See? Just by using it on the side of it, like that. So you split the bristles. So that adds something. And having done them there, I feel I need to put them up here as well. So I'm going to do that. Sort of repeat the patterns. Now this is definitely missing something. I mean, that could be where you could add a stencil. I actually found a lovely stencil the other day, which is not a face painting one, but look at that. It's so gorgeous. It's a bit like a fairy wing. So let's do that with some see, you can stencil with a sponge, by the way, with a one stroke. Sorry, with, well, yes. But I'm going to use, I'm going to do it with some gold. I'm going to put this is my Kryolan Interference. Let's see if this will work. That'd be fun. Just in the centre here. Could have done it before if I'd thought about it, but you know, sometimes you just make things up as you go along. Well, I do. People say to me, "What are you doing?" I say, "I don't know yet. Let's see." And that's the inventiveness. Just keep going, keep trying different things. Yeah, that'll do. Okay. Now I feel it needs a bit more gold, and gold and purple is always beautiful. So I've got the rainbow background. Let's use my dot comma so I can use some comma strokes. So we'll take some from here. Maybe all the way around the outside of that one. Got a gap here, which is interesting. I wonder what we're going to do with that. Let's take something like that. You can still do a thin to thick to thin, but it's not best for that. It's best for comma strokes, really. We need some up here as well. Here we go. And then I think it needs a little more definition. I could use my liner stroke and we'll get some black perhaps. So this liner is, it's not too long, it's not too short. I think it, you know, it's a proper little Goldilocks brush. Does beautiful flicks and fast swirls. It's the sort that Erica Welsh uses. Very similar. And we could literally, I can do some to get a bit carried away now. I'm sure I've gone on too long. Anyway, so these are all Juliet Eve brushes that I'm using. There we are. So this is the liner number 2. I think she needs some eye colour. She's looking a bit pale, isn't she? Let's give her some brown eyes. So if somebody asks you for a rainbow, you can do rainbow butterflies of all sorts using the sponge. There's that one. You can outline with whatever colour you fancy. This was another one, isn't it? This is the one I did. So I've put gold and purple on that and a rainbow base. And yeah, kind of fairy princess thing. The gold. Oh, the gold was the dot comma. That's again Juliet Eve collection. That was the dot comma. And it's actually a number 4. But yeah, Juliet Eve collection. If you're in America, which I think you are, Just Paint and facepaint.com have them. If you're in the UK, you can actually order direct from me, which is Facade Academy.co.uk, and look in the shop. Or Tumini have them as well. Thanks for joining me, everyone. It was nice to have a bit of an audience. See you next month. It's always first Tuesday at 2 p.m. Tips at 2. Okay, see you then. Bye bye all.